Hi, everybody. Good morning, good evening, or good middle of the night, if depending on where we are in the world. Welcome to day two here of Geek Fest, and we are very pleased to be welcoming our two filmmakers. Once again, the block was "Animation can explain whatever the mind of man can conceive," which is a quote by Walt Disney. And we had three great films. They were Bugbottle and Animating Aeroplane Jelly. And we are extremely pleased to have the directors of Bugbottle and Animating Aeroplane Jelly with us. And I'm going to hand it over to our friend Luke. Luke.
Hey, everybody. So my first question is to Beau. I'd like to know, first of all, what did the ant do to you? No, I'm like,
No, they do to me.
poor ant.
Well, yeah. Originally, it wasn't an ant. I spent probably about 6 or 7 months animating this as a spider. And then my wife, in her lovely wisdom, was like, you realize a lot of folks don't like spiders. It might creep out the audience. So after basically completing the film with a spider, we re-recorded the audio and did it as an ant.
Cool. Wow. Well, I want to know, what was your inspiration for creating Bugbottle?
I've actually done some work with a colleague of mine in Berlin, to reference Michael Shirt there, works at the university there, and he's into sort of high-level mathematical visualization. I'm kind of compelled to tell these stories in math. I think that these ideas that are very abstract and quite often just sort of take for granted. We're told why an equation works, but never see why it works. And I really like trying to take these abstract ideas and really visualize them, make them beautiful, so you can really see why this stuff is the way that it is. And I'd done some work with him before on like history of discrete geometry and some other topics. And he was like, there's a lot of these ideas in topology, like fourth dimensional topology, that haven't really been visualized out. And it was almost sort of a stunt, kind of these, how complicated of an idea can you take and bring it to a novice audience. You don't need to have a lot of mathematical experience or experience in topology. And so, we got these three different topological forms and figured, let's see if we can really take this again and bring it to a novice audience. So he kind of sparked the idea for me, and I just kind of ran with it.
Cool. Well, congratulations on your nomination for
Thanks.
Best Animated Film, Best VFX, Best How-To Film, and Best SME Film. Congratulations.
Thanks so much.
No problem. We've got Michael Kraaz with Animating Aeroplane Jelly. Again, congratulations for your nomination, Best Animated Film, Best History Film, and Best Unusual Interest Film.
Absolutely.
My first question is, well, I understand, reading movie magazines kind of inspired you to be a filmmaker. Is it everything you expected, or is there something that surprised you along the way?
Well, that particular Aeroplane Jelly clip, so that's sort of a well-known jingle in Australia. So every young Australian child will probably hear that from when they're very young. I can remember hearing it when I was on, I think it was on a children's TV show they were playing it. So we're pretty familiar with it. What surprises me is how people react to things, I suppose. And you're getting, so I'm surprised something very Australian is getting a bit of attention in Canada. So that's what surprises me. Yeah, you never know what people think.
That's a lot of research for something that is just something from your childhood. And we wanted to know what started you down that path.
It's probably a bit of frustration with Eric Porter, the filmmaker behind that, is that he actually he seems to have almost been forgotten, and nobody has made much of a strong effort in Australia to preserve his work. My memory of him goes back to 1982, and I was watching what we call the AFI, Australian Film Institute Awards, which are the equivalent of the Oscars in Australia, and it's usually a pretty boring ceremony. And I think that year it was particularly entertaining because they were showing heaps of Mad Max 2/Road Warrior footage. So a little 12-year-old me was really getting into it. And that year, Eric Porter actually got the Raymond Longford Award, which is the equivalent of the Thalberg. And so then he told the story, and they showed all his films, and they told the story of how he'd written a letter to Walt Disney as a boy. And that stuck in my mind. So when I worked for the Film and Sound Archive years later and had to talk about it, I had to I could tell that story. We found his scrapbook. He had a scrapbook of a whole lot of articles. He actually was quite in the public eye in Australia for a long time, even dealing with a lot of our prime ministers and making other commercials, a lot of well-known commercials. And I think at the end of the film, there's a little shot of a can of Mr. Sheen, and that was his. They were approached to make an advert for that. They wanted a character, and his co-workers that's actually a caricature of Eric, and his co-workers sent it in as a joke, and it actually got accepted. So, unbeknownst to a lot of Australians, this character is Eric Porter. There is a lot of research. So I've done a lot of. I spoke with Cam Ford, who appears in that film, and he actually later worked on Yellow Submarine, and he had quite a vast knowledge of Eric, and that was his daughter Gabby was actually quite happy to talk to us. So we have long transcribed interviews with both of them, and that's how I found it all out. It was a long research journey.
So was the Aeroplane Jelly more fascinating to you, or was it the Eric story that really first turned you on to it?
What the original plan was to make a bigger film, and it was going to be called Letter to Walt, and it was going to tell the whole career of Eric Porter, and we put in funding for that and didn't get it. So that what we decided to do was tell a portion of his story first and get a bit of an interest going, so people could learn and give me credit as a filmmaker. You've always got to have some sort of a professional credit, to get more funding, as sort of a meritocracy system in the Australian film industry, as is life, I suppose. So there was going to be a bigger film. So we started that, and that was a pretty well-known campaign in Australia. So we thought we'd start with that. And it hints at more. So it sort of goes by they keep them wanting more philosophy.
So it sounds like you were fascinated by the whole biography of him, and other people that lying in your mind for future projects that you would like to do.
I'm trying to do a project about an Australian heavy metal band called Escape, and we've got most of that made, and that's it's about so basically this band they were the most highly media profiled band in Australia without a record contract or any recorded product. So they had a very over the top image with fur and horns and electric guitar, and this was in the 80s. In Australia, we have this funny, we don't like people who succeed greatly. We tend to like the person who gives it a go. Yeah, as long as they had a go and put in effort, it's okay. But we have a thing called the tall poppy syndrome in Australia. If somebody succeeds too much, they're sort of
you're not going to like Beau then, because Beau is quite a success in the animation world.
No, we've got it has to be stopped, I'm afraid.
Take it away.
Yeah.
Actually, that's my next question to Beau is I understand that you've worked on shows such as like The Walking Dead, Stranger Things, Lucifer, to name a few. Your resume is impressive. What is it like to work on these high profile shows, and what is an average day like for you in computer graphics?
Well, actually, I have recently stepped away from that kind of production work. It can be fun and creative, but also it is a job. It's not the it's not the glamour that people might think that it is. And actually, the reason why Bugbottle is complete is because I stepped away from it. Too many of my weekends and evenings were taken up with the studio work. And I just realized, kind of quality of life, it's time to step away from that. And now I'm actually, I'm teaching, I'm education lead at the Noman College in Hollywood. It's a visual effects college. So I'm still creatively engaged in the industry and with new, amazing artists. But it also affords me the time to do my own work, which I really enjoy. It's the same tool set. I use the same software to split open zombies' heads that I did to split open the Klein bottle. So it's maybe a very different look, but it's still, we're still telling visual stories, still engaging with an audience. So the technical problem solving, the sort of the artistry of it is indifferent. It's just now, again, I'm not splitting open zombies' heads and covering people in leeches or putting wings on people. I'm now trying to take these abstract ideas and model them for an audience.
So, Beau, did you on purpose pick a really difficult thing to animate?
Yes, this, some of the work I do is almost sort of like a stunt, like a challenge, like how deep of a concept can I get and still model it? That isn't all the work that I do. I actually, right now, I'm working on some pieces that are much more simple. I mean, kind of more, your basic kind of grade school, high school kind of concepts, that the things you get in school, but maybe never fully gelled in your head, and trying to model those kinds of concepts. I'm not always trying to push the high end things. Again, it's a variety of stories to tell, and I like the high end things as well as those common things that we think we knew but realized we never did.
Is most of your new work in science and technology, or do you do history and soft sciences too?
A lot of it is more mathematical based, but honestly, I don't see math as being kind of an island. I think that it has to live in the context of history, of people. A lot of the math that I've taught has been through the lens of history. I think that gives kind of a context to it, gives it a body to it, gives it a reason why this is relevant. And it's also, I think, interesting to pick apart a mathematical idea from the person or the people or the culture that first figured it out. That it gives, again, a relevance. And for someone trying to get their brain around an idea, to frame it in the context of, here's how someone saw this in the first place and figured this idea out. So yeah, it's more mathematical, kind of science-based. I think those kinds of abstract stories are the ones that I'm drawn to, but it also fits into other, human contexts like history or even art.
Both the films are beautiful in that way. They're both really sort of improving our users' brains a little bit, which is fun. So this is a new thing that you're doing, a new project that you're sort of spearheading yourself to do these kinds of films?
Actually, I never intended to do Hollywood work. I kind of fell into doing feature film because it paid the bills much nicer, but that was never my intention. I always kind of intended to take the visual communication power of this medium of animation and apply it to teaching and telling those kinds of stories. But it doesn't really pay the bills. So I kind of fell backwards into feature film and that kind of work. It's great. It's fun. It's I enjoy the challenge of it, technically, creatively. But I was always trying to pull some time away and energy to continue to do these. I've been doing them since my first real 3D animation was on Eratosthenes measuring the Earth back 3rd century BC.
I love that story. I love Aaron. You did that, or it's finished?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Geez, that was back 92, 93. One of my first 3D animations. But
oh my God.
He was the director of I'll make it quick here. Director of the Library of Alexandria, and he read an account in southern Egypt that at noon on the longest day of the year, vertical objects cast no shadows and the sun could be seen in the bottom of a deep well at noon on the longest day of the year. And he found that at the same time in northern Egypt and in Alexandria, there was a shadow. And so just basically a matter of calculating one angle and making one measurement, measuring the distance between the cities. And boom, he knew how big the Earth was. So it's those kinds of amazing aha moments that I think when you can see it, and it's such a simple, beautiful relationship that if anything, the story isn't just great. I know how big the Earth is now, but it's knowing how knowable that is, taking these complex ideas and seeing the beauty and harmony of them, and how the complex is knowable if you can kind of have that mental flexibility, being open to seeing these kinds of relationships.
You're just not telling the stories. You're a true geek.
No, this is what, again, I think we're all filmmakers. We're all drawn to communicate with audiences and tell these stories. but I think these are the stories that I'm drawn towards because for me, they fundamentally change, how you see your world. And I wasn't into math as, when I was going through school. That was not something I really cared about. I was an artist. But, again, realizing how empowering these things are. When you can, again, I can do something as profound as measuring the earth. I can understand the fourth dimension. I can understand all these other kind of concepts. If this compelling and visual medium, that's a very empowering thing I hope to give to an audience.
We have a whole bunch of hands up about Michael's project that he mentioned earlier about the unsigned punk band called Escape. And folks want to know what happened to the 2 days of footage.
We've got 2 trailers up online for that. And what happened is that our main gentleman called John the Beast, and I might have a photo. Hang on. I wasn't prepared for this. Oh, where are we? Here, oh, look here. Oh, look at that. Look at that. So that's the gentleman there on the back with the fur and the horns. That's John the Beast. And so this is the Australian media loved the image but hated heavy metal music in the 80s. And so these guys got a lot of media attention, but had no record contract or no recorded product, and did appear in a movie with Peter Phelps. He used to be on Baywatch a bit. If you look for Escape the Great Unsigned on YouTube, there's some older trailers, but John passed away a couple of years back, so we had to refocus the film a bit. So we're about to do a big edit of that, and that's been a long project. You don't sort of know. You think something's going to be easy to film, but this got very difficult. And now finally the singer has come back to Australia, and we've managed to, so we can now interview the singer. So we've got to change the film again. And we also have a Facebook page for Escape the Great Unsigned. We're about to start a crowdfunding campaign to buy some of the TV footage. So that's, it's there. Escape the Great Unsigned.
Next question for both of you. What is your next project? How much animation is it? And is it more science or more creative expression?
We had an idea I've been working on as a project called Mars Bots. And it was like cars, except with the robots on Mars. And they've got little funny faces, and they're doing children's educational type things. So we might we're like like the Viking, what do they call the little, on Mars, the rovers and all that.
Yeah, the little.
So it's
What you're talking about,
anthropomorphic versions of those to teach children a little bit about science and how life will be on Mars. Yep.
And Beau, we also published your reason for math. Are you doing more stuff for that, or what's coming up for you?
Reason for math is just kind of a general umbrella term I put out for my work. Some of the things I've been wanting to do, I want to get more into describing ideas in linear algebra. And I'd love to do these beautiful proofs like on quadratic equations, but I realized before I can jump into that, I need to get some foundational ideas. So I'm getting into exponents right now. And there's plenty of beautiful little stories talking exponential growth, and even getting into the exponent of 0 and negative integer exponent. So I'm right now geeking out on exponents with the plan that I can kind of slowly tell the story on up into like linear algebra, quadratic equations, that kind of stuff. Kind of a hard sell. It's like, hey guys, get excited about quadratic equations. Once you kind of see how interesting it can be, and it's visual and not just a bunch of numbers on a blackboard, hopefully I can slowly build up an audience.